Well, I tell you what, the perfect person to speak to on Evan Ferguson, alongside yourself, of course. Glenn Murray, joint top scorer in the Premier League with Brighton. Glenn, good to see you once again.
How are we?
How was the US tour for you?
Yeah, it's been good. Enjoying it so far.
We're just talking about Evan Ferguson, actually. He's had his breakthrough season. We want him to build on it. How good can he be in your eyes?
I think this man's better to answer
but
that than me.
You watch it more than me.
I believe that he could be sort of Harry Kane's level, just his stature, his ability. I think that the thing that bowls me over the most about him is his attitude, how humble he is as a young man. You see a lot of lads burst onto the scene and their money, the glamour, everything gets the better of them, but this kid is focused on football. He wants to continue to get better, and it's a pleasure watching him week in, week out.
Does he have that nastiness about him?
Yeah, I think he does. He's a big centre forward.
You need that, right?
Oh yeah.
He knows where his elbows are. Don't worry about that.
You do watch him more than me. Where does he need? Who is? Every top player has got an attribute that just separates them. What's he got, or what does he need to improve to be top class? Not just a Premier League. If you're saying Harry Kane, he needs something to be Harry Kane.
Well, when I look at Harry Kane, I think Harry Kane's very good at everything and not exceptional at any one thing. Like he's pretty fast, his finishing's amazing. I think he's very like him. Obviously, listen, he's got loads to learn in the game, but I feel as though his knowledge for such a young man already is exceptional.
Has he got the trust of his manager to play regularly?
Probably not yet. I think he wants to blood him. I don't think he wants to put too much pressure on Evan's shoulders where he doesn't perform or sort of it becomes too difficult for him. But now they've got quite a number of good forwards at the football club. They've got João Pedro, Danny Welbeck's there to help them as an elder statesman. So they've got different options at Brighton now, and that takes the pressure off Evan a little bit.
Okay, let's have a look at the Brighton team actually while you're here, Glenn. It's interesting how these managers approach these pre-season friendlies. Is there anything you can read into this first starting 11 and such and so forth? What's your reading of that 11 from Roberto De Zerbi?
Well, I think that Pascal Gross is playing left back, and I probably don't think we'll see him play left back in the Premier League, in all honesty. But you've got to fill in where you need to. Listen, it's an exercise to get ready for the Premier League ultimately. It'll be nice to see Buonanotte get some game time, Pedro as well, and see. So that sort of South American front three could be a really exciting prospect for Brighton.
Yeah.
Glenn, tell us a bit about how do you say his name? Adingra. He when he came on, he looked sharp, he looked quick, he looked explosive. And the other boy, he really impressed me. Yasin Ayari, he looked magic on the ball, taking it.
I think Adingra came from the same place that Karu Mitoma came from. He's just a year behind, so really exciting again. He done really well in Belgium. He had a good goal return, had a lot of assists, so a similar path to Karu. Whether he turns out as good, I mean, hopefully, but it's a big ask. And then, like you say, the young man that came on, the Swedish player came on, he did really well. Nice touches, a little bit to learn in the Premier League. I think some of his touches were a little bit sloppy, but it allowed us to show his footwork. And listen, the stable of players Brighton have got is extremely exciting.
Yeah, this flair, this speed, and talking of which, João Pedro, when he came off the bench against Chelsea, he showed a couple of players a clean pair of heels. He really stood out, didn't he?
Yeah, I must admit, he's the one that I'm most excited about. Just the way he moves his body. I actually played with him when he was 19 at Watford, and since then I can just see a development in his physicality. He's turned into a real centre forward now, and I feel as though he knows how to play number 9. At one point he was a typical young Brazilian boy who just liked to play football anywhere that he was allowed, and I think he was probably didn't play under much structure at Watford at time. Obviously a lot of change of managers and things, but I feel as though under Roberto's structure and guidance we can really see the best of him.
You see, that's interesting because he played as a 10 at Watford, and now Glenn's clearly giving him his backing as a centre forward. Can you kind of share those sentiments, Michael?
Well, he's got the number 9 on, and if he plays like a number 9, then he'll be a great asset. I mean, I love the way in those two clips he's direct. I mean, he gets the ball and he wants to run at defenders.
Yeah.
And defenders don't like that, of course. And he's got the attributes to do that. I mean, it is a wealth of talent they've got in those positions. We've already spoken about Ferguson. We're now talking about João Pedro. And of course, Danny Welbeck, as he described himself as a fine wine the other day, getting better with age. So, I mean, 3 players there that I'm sure they'll rotate throughout the season. but it's brilliant to see. I think that's been Brighton's problem maybe in the last year or two, or 2 or 3 years maybe, since you retired. They don't score enough goals, but now I think they've got some really good players.
Yeah, but there has been some breaking news from a Brighton perspective. On the defensive front, they've brought in a left-sided defender, Igor, from Fiorentina for a fee believed to be around £14 million. Some interesting quotes from Roberto De Zerbi saying he can play in a crucial position for us, and it's where the play starts, is what he said, and that is what struck with me.
Yeah, so I think I've sat down and spoke to Roberto, and what he wants from his centre-backs, he wants them to almost be quarterbacks like the NFL. He wants them to start everything going forward. He feels as though, well, I think we saw them last season, they stand on the ball, they invite that pressure, and they find that pass, whether it's right through the heart of the team to the striker. But again, he's come in, and his English might not be perfect as a Brazilian, but his Italian is, so he can communicate with the manager perfectly.
Yeah. And adds further flair to this Brighton team.
Yeah, but you know what's very important, what he says, with Zerbi. I like the way he thinks, but the key thing in his side, what I think, is the confidence that he brings to his players. Yeah. And I think having so much confidence as you as an individual, I think that speaks. And what do you feel that going into the next level, how much focus is he on that side of the confidence of making sure that the new players and also the ones that are already there just keep bringing that? Because if not, I think that is the excitement of this side, the confidence that they all possess.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, because for me, the change that Roberto's brought in is a mentality change, and whereas as a newly promoted Premier League side, it's almost like acceptable to get beaten off your Liverpools and your Manchester Cities, whereas this guy's like, we don't get beat off anyone. Every time we step on the field of play, we want to win the game, and you can see that belief growing in what is a young, manageable squad.
Yeah, I mean, interesting, like possession-wise, goal scoring, you guys are like right almost at the top 4, I think, in both categories. So obviously you're taking the game to even the top teams, which I think is quite frightening, really, because I think the potential's there to actually get even better. And I do think they probably could have more points than they had last season, because actually playing-wise, you were probably better than even the place that you finished, I thought.
We had quite a few bad VR decisions against us last year, which did hurt at times, but they bounced back, they got into Europe. But yeah, it's all about Roberto and his mentality, and he just doesn't care. It's about the group, it's about inside the changing room, and he just wants to create special memories for his players. I don't really think he cares about the game in general very much. Like, for instance, set pieces, he's not overly bothered about them, whereas we put a big onus on them in England, don't we? He's like, no, open play. What's
he getting the ball back into play just quicker, like short corners, you mean?
No, as in corners, I think he looks at it as in, I think every 13, 14 corners equals a goal, and he's like, that's every... Yeah. Can take 3 games to get that sometimes. He's like, it's about open play. I want to split people open. I want to create. I want to have entertaining football, and that is certainly what he gives us.
That's also the surprise. It doesn't surprise me what you're saying now, because that's kind of the culture differences. Because growing up in a different culture, it was identical. I learned here in the English culture that set pieces were important. Because back home we were like, no, like what you said, splitting them open. Yeah. That was the focus.
Yeah. Well, Mario, that says volumes, as in it's already becoming old news. They don't want to know about set pieces anymore.